Okay. So the reason I wanted you guys all on video is first and foremost, so you guys could look around. The, there's like this imaginary thing that we human beings created. I guess Stefan, the in-house philosophy expert, can we call you Stephocrates? Steph, we you could probably tell us about the origin of the calendar and the philosophy behind it, but at the end of the day, we're all going to celebrate New Year's Eve tonight and start a new year tomorrow. And what is that? It's accounting wise, it's a new year for everybody, and everybody has their New Year's resolutions. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, what's different tomorrow from today? The reality is, it's nothing. We just have this calendar, and it creates these like starting points and these ending points, but it does give us something which is interesting, opportunity to stop and reflect and then say, okay, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to change? What do I want to be different? And so 2020 was we started the year in an uncertain way. I mean, we started 2020 with people on the team that you look around, they're not here with us anymore. And we started the year with a quick move into having to cancel a huge project back in February or March, and then almost immediately everybody went into a quarantine, and it just never stopped. So here we are. Jared's sitting outside our office building there in the middle of the winter with short sleeve shirts on, and Rich is on a beach. Everybody's in different parts of the. Tom is sitting in an office building on a rooftop of New York City. But we navigated the year. So you remember I talked with you guys probably back in March or April about, I don't know what's going to be, because it was all this uncertainty. And we did something that was, I think, pretty spectacular, which was, we navigated the year and ensured that Mindcore ended the year in essentially the same state of business health that it was in the beginning of the year. Frankly, health-wise, the business it was in good health before, but the year gave me on the business side, and with working with Rich and Maxine and Tom too, and Jared, the opportunity to look at certain things in the business and really get the business running, just at an even better, more efficient level. And we have done that. So it was an achievement that we were able to do, which a lot of companies, first of all, didn't make it. A lot of companies shut down. A lot of companies are struggling, and we're not struggling. We're doing well. We're figuring out our own way of navigating and coming through it. We have to do it again in 2021. So if you look at, there's a beginning and there's an end. Yes, this year's over tonight and we start tomorrow, but as a year that has a beginning and an end, we have to do it again, because we know that there's a resurgence of the virus that's happening, and we don't know what businesses are going to be impacted. It's still going on. It isn't like it started and stopped. It's just there's hills and valleys with it, and so we don't know what's going to be. But what I know is we have to keep doing what we did. However, I can tell you that what we did to get from March to here is not going to be the same thing we have to do to get from here to wherever we're going next, because things have changed, they've evolved. So, sorry, somebody's texting me. The question that I started to ask myself weeks ago is, what changes am I going to make? I mean, personally, and what decisions am I going to make? As far as my role and my responsibility in the company, but also as a person. And so I'm thinking through that, and I definitely would encourage you guys to think through that as people. What decisions are you going to make? What challenges might be coming your way, and how do you respond to them? And what forks in the road might you take? But we definitely have to continue to do that as a company. And if you look around, obviously we don't have our offsite team on this meeting, but this is the core. This is the foundation now going forward. Everybody that's on the screen right now. So as you can see, one of the things that's happened over the past 2 years is we've consolidated and consolidated and consolidated. But what that has done for us is it's left us in an interesting situation, which is what I wanted a long time ago, and it took time. Everybody that's on this phone call has something in common. Everybody that's in this meeting right now, we are the foundation right? As I've said, we've consolidated, and every one of you, if you look on this phone call on the screen, has something in common, and that is that you have grit, that you work hard, that you are committed, and there's probably more words, but what that does bring for us is a more of a singular mindset. And it's been years. I've been working through, making sure we've got the right people and a singular mindset, so we can all go the same direction together. And now, when I look at everybody that's on this video, I can say I'm looking at everybody, and we're going the same direction together. There's no resistance. There's not one person on this video that delivers or brings resistance to the table, which we talked about a few months ago. And that's a very, very good place for us to now start and go forward from. And that's an achievement, for some of you, Colin, Jared, Rich, who were around when that wasn't the case 3, 4, 5 years ago. You've watched us little by little by little, really just find our way, where people that didn't have the same mindset, maybe they stayed too long, maybe they didn't, maybe they moved on in a good period of time, but ultimately now we're left with, okay, now we can all work together in a way that flows, where we're all thinking the same thing, and we're all working inside the same process and the same workflows and the same mindset. And that's a big deal for me, certainly as an owner, but also as somebody that works with all of you guys and talks to you guys a million times a day. It's far more enjoyable when every one of our conversations, regardless of whether it's a heated conversation or there's something urgent going on, overall, underneath it all, we're all the same mindset, and we're all going the same direction together, at least in business and at work and in this company going forward. There's been a few times over the years where I've referred to Mindcore version 1, version 2, version 3. This is it again, and I forgot if we're on 3 or 4. But Jared often will talk to me about like that next version, and this is the next version. Are we on 3 or 4, Jared? Where did we leave off?
At least 4.
I think this is Mindcore V4. But along with that, there is an evolution that's happening. There's a transformation that's happening because of everything that happened last year, or this year in 2020. There's a change happening in the marketplace. There's a change happening in technology. There's a consolidation happening. Everything's consolidating. Everything is actually getting simpler and more streamlined. So what are we doing? We're evolving with it, right? We're changing. And as I look at the people on this screen, I don't get the sense or the feeling from anybody on the screen that there's resistance to the change that's happening. And that's us ultimately going forward as we serve people, serve companies, and help people. It's what matters now. Do we hold on to a cloud infrastructure that's outdated and doesn't serve us or the future clients in the way that the new economy, the new norm, is needs to serve people? No. So what are we doing? We're consolidating that. We're rethinking that. We're changing. We're not wasting time holding on to something that once made sense that no longer does. It's just an example, And so that effort started, and that's underway. And Colin, you just turned brownish yellow. Did you turn a light on or off or something?
I turned off my color correction.
Oh, I think it. I don't. Is this your normal? The brownish yellow. So those are things that I think about as this imaginary beginning or end and beginning comes around. There you go. You're back to normal. Our mindset of expansion and growth as people and as a team and as a company is it's for me, it's underneath everything. There's always a growth mindset, and I don't mean just in business and money. There's a growth mindset in everything that's happening, right? So whatever this year was for you, ask yourself maybe what's the next year going to be for you. What does growth look like for you? I'm not. I don't mean by growth I'm going to pick up and shave my head and move into a cave and give up all my possessions. But what does growth mean for you? It's a personal thing. Colin's like, okay, maybe. What does growth mean for you, though? It's a personal thing, and it does tie into how you present and bring yourself in this team. But have your choices served you in the past 12 months? And are the same choices going to serve you, or you need to make different choices? If you're not happy inside as an individual and you don't have peace in your soul, you're not going to come to work and be happy. you're not going to be happy on this team. You're not going to have fun. You know, if you're a miserable person, you're going to be miserable wherever you are. So that's, you know, don't blame your job. You know, it could be a good time with the beginning of a new year to look in the mirror and reflect on yourself and say, who do I want to be? How do I want to be? And what mindset do I want to have? And then you bring that with you to whatever it is you're doing. You know, those are things you could do. And, you know, it's something that I certainly do. We've let go of a lot of negative patterns over the past 12 months. And I'll talk in a few minutes about a few things that we're going to really all focus on together. But definitely letting go of negative patterns is huge. I've talked with you guys about it, and it's come up in a lot of our discussions as a team. If you recognize that you're getting negative feedback, what you should do is just let that be a reflection on yourself and say, hey, what negative pattern do I have that could be contributing to my experience or to how I'm feeling, what's coming back at me. It's a good beginning. It's a good time to look at the negative patterns. Jared and I look at negative patterns in the process and the workflows all the time because we want to improve the company. That's great. But, you know, it's again, a great time at the beginning of the new year to look at those negative patterns and say to yourself, what can you do differently? And how can you bring yourself and be present differently in life and with your coworkers and, you know, your family and your relationships. You know, change is a natural part of life. There's every second your body's changing, but change is a natural part of life. So the thing to do is to embrace change. We all had to embrace change in 2020. It was forced on us, but it's funny how everybody evolved and everybody adapted and everybody is perfectly fine. I'm talking about on this phone call. I'm not talking about outside of here. To my knowledge, everybody is fine and was able to adapt. So we're pretty adaptable as human beings. If your mindset is there, it's a pretty cool thing to know that change is always going to happen. So why don't we look at it like, well, what change really is opportunity for growth. You know, so it all ties in together. And so again, with the beginning of a new year, what can we change? You know, what can we change as individuals? What can we change as a team? What can we change as a company so that we can grow and really remain relevant and you know, take care of each other and keep this going and keep growing the company and keep really delivering an actual value to people that choose to work with us, which, by the way, we should be grateful for every day that there are companies out there that rely on us and trust us and that give us the opportunity to serve them, right? That's even that. If you don't think that, that's a change in mindset that I would encourage you to really, really think, because when you're dealing with our customers every day, excuse me, hold on. When you're dealing with our customers every day, that attitude of gratitude, it does come through the phone. It does come through in the experience. And that also is an unspoken energy that people can feel, and it makes people really, really want to work with us. We made a lot of mistakes this year. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. We do an okay job at learning from our mistakes. We're going to do a better job of having a lessons learned type of mindset in everything that we do, every project, every experience that doesn't go well, that is either negative or not at our own standards. We're going to do a far better job of you know, ensuring we have a lessons learned. Man, hold on a second. And we see every mistake and every lesson as an opportunity to grow. And that's one of the reasons that having all of you guys together now in a mindset that's like-minded, I don't look at this screen and see anybody that I think is resistant to learning from mistakes. Some of you make them over and over, but we eventually, you know, really have better conversations. And thankfully, some of you that will repeat a mistake don't mind, like, being like, look, I screwed up, I made the mistake again. We use you as an example, which is very cool because it's constructive and that's a good energy to have. You know, it's not about who's blaming anybody or anything like that. We really want to make sure that we have a mindset going forward with everything that's going to be coming and changing this year, that we learn from our mistakes and we just continue to grow, and we get what's called post-traumatic growth. Every time something bad happens, grow from it, and you have to. That's all that can happen. What else did I want to talk about? The last thing I want to talk about is using the opportunity to go to the next level. So use the bookmark or the bookend, not a bookmark. Use the bookend of today being the last day of the year to, I would encourage you to use it as an opportunity to say, what can I do to go to the next level as a person? I'm not talking about in this company, as a person. Because if you do it as a person, it just naturally bleeds over into the company. You might want to make a little list of 2 or 3 things that you want to do. And I don't mean that you want to have. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not talking about money, cars, houses, possessions. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you as an individual. What level do you want to go to? If you don't have an aspiration to go to some level, you should actually, because if you're not changing, then you're stagnant. And if you're stagnant, then I don't know. I've never met anybody that's perfect that doesn't that doesn't have room to really meet a greater potential themselves. So each of you on the screen, like, what is it that you want to achieve? It doesn't matter what stage of your life you're at either. I'm gonna pick on Rich because Rich retired, but he still works with us, and he's got a lot of things he's working on. He's got his own projects. He's got his own things. And it doesn't matter, like, where you are in life, you still have potential that he could be the best fisherman in Florida this winter, right? What's he gonna, well, frankly, he could practice like hell and whatever. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's just the mindset of, like, you have to grow, because growth and getting yourself to the next level, it does give you a sense of satisfaction and a sense of achievement. And that's very human. You need to have a sense of achievement and a sense that you're progressing, because when you don't, then you fall into the wrong mindset, which is like anger and jealousy and distrust and all these things that you feel bad from, versus other things which you feel good from, like being happy, joy, being grateful, and being in that place. You bring that to everything you do, including Mindcore. You're a different person to be around, right? Or you're a person to be around that people want to be around. So I would just encourage you all to focus on what the next level means for you as an individual. I'll take a page out of the book that I don't know if you've all read it, but I bought it for everybody. The 5 a.m. Club, the 4 pillars. I hope I remember them all. One is soul set. Focus on doing things that help you feel better in your soul. One is heart set. Same thing. One is mindset. Or the third one is mindset, which is extremely important. And the fourth one is health. I think it's health set. So it's funny because those 4 pillars, if you focus on all 4 of those and spend time every day, and what they really do is they do bring you to another level for yourself. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to that level, but you should set aside time every day to work on all of those things. And if you don't, you'll notice, and you're the way you feel is your barometer. If you feel bummed out, if you feel down, if you feel a lack of accomplishment, if you feel like other people are wronging you, if you feel like you're a victim, I mean, I could probably go on for an hour. If you feel negative things, those things are all coming from within you. There's nothing that's happening outside of you that's causing those things, not a single thing. Because I could I could sit here and it could be pouring out and feel wonderful, and one of you could be sitting here next to me and it's pouring out and you feel like crap. There's no difference. We're both sitting in the same thing at the same moment. The difference is it's your heart set, your mindset, your soul set, and your health set. It's straight up how you feel in every way. And that might be what the next level means for you guys. And you could focus on those things, and you can bring that to this team. That's how this team goes to the next level. And it's true. Each of you will bring this team to the next level by bringing yourself to the next level. But you'll also bring your relationships to the next level. You'll bring your health to the next level. You'll bring your future to the next level. And I think the last thing I'm going to say on this is it starts with, there's nothing you can do that will have a dramatic impact on anything right in this moment. You got to take little tiny steps. You make tiny changes. The smallest changes added up together over time create a tremendous amount of growth for you and change for you in your life. So I wouldn't advise creating pressure for yourself by saying, all right, new year, I'm going to the gym every day. I'm going to lose 500 pounds. I'm going to grow all my hair back. I'm going to, like, let's see, I don't know. I'm going to make $1 million. I'm picking things that are so ridiculous that none of us are going to have it happen this year. So, but you can set little tiny goals for yourself. You know what? I'm going to get to my meetings on time from now on, and I'm not going to fail myself in that. I'm going to eat healthier every day. I'm going to start just a little bit. I'm going to have a salad every day. I'm going to replace my bowl of ice cream with a salad. You can tiny changes added up over time. All right, Jared, you don't have to pick that, but you can pick something else. But tiny changes over time, eat up. That's a Freudian slip. Add up to a tremendous amount of growth. And that might be a way for you to look at this imaginary beginning of time, which starts tomorrow. Um, Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Because I have two things I want to talk about that are unrelated. But if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them. Or not is
I
totally fine.
I posted something in the chat about change that I read on a regular basis, probably once a week. I've read this to you guys during one of our meetings, but it's something I read every time I get a little nervous about change and stuff
Read
like
it
that.
now. Mark, read it to us.
Change is one of the most difficult things we face, but change is inevitable. One reason we don't like change is we get comfortable where we are. We get used to our friends, our job, the place we live. And even if it's not perfect, we accept it because it's familiar. And what happens is because we're not willing to change, we get stuck into what God is used to do instead of moving forward into what God is about to do. Just because God's blessed you where you are, it doesn't mean you can just sit back and settle there. You have to stay open to what God is doing now. What worked 5 years ago may not work today. If you're going to be successful, you have to be willing to change. Every blessing is not supposed to be permanent. Every provision is not supposed to last forever. We should constantly evaluate our friendships. Who's speaking into your life? Who are you depending on? What make sure they're not dragging you down, limiting you from blossoming. Everybody is not supposed to be in our life forever. If you do not get rid of the wrong friends, you will never meet the right friends.
And who you surround yourself with is who you become. I would add that on right there. That's awesome. That's cool. You read that every week.
Yeah, I read it on a regular.
Yeah.
Every time I
I
get nervous about it changing. So.
And by the way, that's a mindset thing for you. So by reading that, what does that do? It gets your mindset like on a good track, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just to kind of dovetail off of what Matt had said too. I have a kind of unique viewpoint on this because not being day to day with you guys for the last year, when we do get together, I kind of see it after a while. So I kind of see what's going on in the business. Matt and I talk several times a week. I talk to Maxine. I'm into the system and everything, but I'm not with you guys the way we were a year and a half ago. So when I see different things happening, I see these bigger changes. I see where somebody's gone from point A and said, "Wow, that's very different." And to Matt's point before, we're at a position right now. This is the first time since I've been involved, which has been since 2016. Our focus was always on company growth. Our focus was always on getting bigger, always leaving a carbon footprint, continuing to grow the company. This is the first time that I've noticed consistently that we finally have a team who has grown to the point that the company is at. This is a team that can run the company and take it to the next step. I don't know that we ever had that before. And that was to Matt's point earlier. There's not a lot of this abrasiveness within the team anymore. For those of you who've been around for a few years, you know what we went through with a lot of people in the company. We've had a lot of seismic shifts in this company in a very short period of time. But this is the first time we've had a team of people who are integral to the growth and the success of this company that matches where this company is and is willing to coin the phrase, all row in the same direction, to bring the company to the next level. I'm going to tell you, I think what we're going to find out is as we grow, whether it's in size or just in efficiency, as we grow, it's going to be a lot smoother with a lot less bumps in the road because everybody's kind of pulling in the same way. So just something that I've definitely noticed, having been kind of, I'm not going to say forced because there was nothing forced about it, but having stepped away from kind of being right in the thick of it every minute of every day, it's something that I see with much more clarity than you guys might see, because you guys are in it every day. You guys are on that line of scrimmage, button heads every single day. Okay, I'm looking at it from, like, up in the third deck in the press box, to use a sports analogy, which Matt loves that I use. Okay, so I'm looking at kind of more of an overview. So it's really working out well, and everything else Matt said. I mean, I don't think I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I hope you guys realize how good all of you have done this year to get through what we had to get through relative to other companies, particularly other small companies. We are like,
Pause right there. Wait, no, as you were saying that, I just had something pop on my phone. Just in, another 787,000 Americans filed for unemployment last week. Now, that just as you were saying that.
yeah. Yeah, well, the reports come out right today, right? But no, it's so. I mean, when you look at it, this is a really cool meeting because it dovetails a lot of things. It actually dovetails into exactly what Mark had just read. There's a lot to be thankful for, and because of this, to go back to what Matt said before, there's a lot of post-traumatic growth. Well, we're going to experience that. Not only personally, we're going to experience that as a business, because there's a lot of businesses out there who just didn't make it, and we're going to be able to pick up some pieces because we did make it. So all in all, I think it's been, I've seen some changes, and they're all positive right now. And that's the first time I can probably say that in 5 years. So seriously, I mean, it's
been an interesting time.
Yeah, I mean, probably I'm looking, I guess, from a lot of where I'm coming from when I'm talking about it. I mean, it's only kind of Matt and I who would have the total understanding of it. But Colin's been around for the duration, so he knows, some of the stuff that went on. Steph's been around a while. Jared, you've always been, kind of there, and from the beginning with Matt, and then always kind of that background guy. Tom, I know you've been kind of in and out. Jared, John, I know you were there before. Mark's been around a while, so I mean, it's just like a pretty good seasoned veteran team right now.
Yeah.
So we're poised to do some pretty
cool.
good things. So, and yes, I will be fishing a lot.
Look, we're gonna in this coming year, we're gonna bring on new customers that we're gonna be able to help, and we're gonna lose some other ones that maybe their businesses aren't doing well, or maybe they decide to make changes. It's all just the normal flow of business. But we've come a long way. But we was 30 or 32 employees, people on this team, at the peak of our quote unquote size. But what really matters is that we have a good team that's really, really cohesive right now. That is the team that we need. It's not by accident that this group of people's together. This is the team we need so that we all can go forward together, and create whatever is going to be created in the next 1, 2, 3 years. We're going to create something different, something new. We're changing our products. We're changing our services. We're evolving because that's what's necessary. But as Rich just pointed out, some of you have been here and seen us go through mergers, demergers, people coming, people going. That's just normal business, right? That happens. There'll be more of that in the future. We'll grow through a variety of different ways going forward. But it's very cool that we have the opportunity to take the best of the best now, not just the people, but all of our best processes and workflows and systems, and now put it together. And it's an opportunity we have, where there's no noise around us. There's nothing new that's going to get thrown at us. That we've had some things that has made us these seasoned veterans and this mature, experienced business. So that's great, Rich. I appreciate all that. Anybody have anything else before I jump onto the other two topics?
Just real quick, I agree with everything you guys said. We came into 2020 with a plan, and a curveball kind of got thrown at us, but we adapted excellently. We really did. It took a little time to adapt, but we did it well. And I think what was important is we set the foundation for 2021. We pivoted. We came up with a plan about what we're going to do. We decided what we're going to focus on and sell. We got all our communications in place. We started using Teams, got together, and we set the foundation and got ourselves in a good spot for 2021 to deal with everything that's happened. So, and everybody's to thank, and everybody did their part in that. And I'm feeling re-energized for 2021. I really am. I'm feeling re-energized, and yeah, I'm ready to go. So, but team did a great job this year, and I'm looking forward to 2021.
It is pretty interesting to point out, Jared, that you pointed out. We did sit down back in March and come up with. I had a plan, but that plan in March was basically out the window. Okay, time for a new one. And we did sit down and come up with a plan. Rich and I and Maxine on finance and business, and some of you guys operationally, and it was and then we put that plan in place. And frankly, the plan was, let's make it through the year and let's keep this business healthy, and let's focus on what we always focus on. First and foremost, delivering service and value and a great experience to our customers. And we did the best job we could. It wasn't perfect, but we did the best job we could. And we learned a lot of lessons, and we'll improve going forward. But that is what got us here. And I don't know that, I can't speak for any other business owner, but I don't know that was a common thing that, if I had to guess, I'd say most small, medium business owners are shot from the hip, and they were running scared, and they were like, let's just reduce expenses as much as we can and reduce staff as much as we can. And we did, the mindset we had was keep our customers happy, because that's the most important thing, and then keep each other happy, because that's also equally as important. And everything else will just work itself out. The things that are beyond our control, there's no point in worrying about them. We can't control what we can't control. So we controlled what we could. We controlled how we treated people, and we treated each other. And that was part of the plan. I mean, we had tactical plans, and everything pretty much worked out at the end of, Rich and I and Maxine just looked at our budget for next year and how the year ended and how the year's going to begin. It was right on exactly what we projected was going to happen. I mean, it wasn't by accident. We made it happen. And every one of you, when I say we, I mean, it wasn't me and Maxine, Richard made it happen. We made that happen, that we got through this year in a way where the company's very healthy. And look, as I said before, along the way, there were people that were on the bus that got off, and they just weren't meant to be on this bus. And that's just what it is sometimes, But as long as we're all like-minded, and everybody that comes on going forward, because we are bringing on new team members, they're all going to be like-minded. There's going to be nobody that has a resistant type of thinking to our flow and our way of doing things. So let's come into work on Monday where we all have what we need and Teams is working well. And that's it. Let's just make it work. Along the lines with that, Tom is working on a small project. We are shutting down our phone system by the middle of January and moving over to Microsoft phone system. I think it's called the Microsoft phone system. We're moving over to that. We're getting new phones. For those of you that want phones, for those of you that don't want phones, you just use a headset. You're going to have the app. We're going to be working in this unified communication system, and that's going to be happening within the next 2 weeks. So Teams is not an experiment, and Office 365 is not an experiment. We're also going to be moving our files off of the file server in January and moving them onto to OneDrive, so that we can actually share files. The same structure, we're just going to be moving it, so that when we're in a chat, we can all open up the file and collaborate and have the cohesive, centralized system. It's all going to be there. This is where the market's going. This is what our customers want also. So we always use ourselves as the experiment, and we're doing it. We've been doing it, but now we're going to finish it. So that's all going to be happening within the next 2 weeks. Our phone numbers are staying the same and everything else, but the way we work is going to become much easier, much more streamlined, and it is going to be wrapped around Office 365 and Teams in that way. And that is going to be living in our cloud, just like we do for our customers. That's all going to live in our cloud. So your cloud desktop is going to have all of that, but that's coming. But I definitely ask you guys, all of you, if you could please, whatever we need, determine it today. And Mark, let me know whatever we need. Let's order it today. And then every one of you test with each other and make sure that if we say, hey, we got to jump on a meeting, we don't have to fumble around. We're on the meeting, we're in Teams, we can send something out in a group chat and everybody just clicks on the button and we're all just there. It should be, and it is that easy and simple and quick once everything's working correctly.
So we're going to get Teams desk phones?
Yes.
Cool.
We are. Yep.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Who's going to take on the project of teaching me all this stuff? Because I'm
I can help you out, Rich.
All right, Steph, way to go, buddy.
I got your back.
I think Colin
thanks
enjoys
for
that
really
the
jumping
most.
in on that, Kyle. I noticed you were right there for me. Okay, I noticed that.
Listen,
I'd
whenever
rather-
we have a
rather
delay
watch
or a
paint dry.
slowdown in our cloud, the first thing we know to do, I mean, according to Colin, is see where's Rich and what is he touching.
That's right. That's right.
Rich is working
back on his
but we still can't
HTML5.
print in the office.
Hey, listen, I got through the meeting yesterday on the budget with no problem. It wasn't
I
me.
was
who was
really
the
impressed,
issue.
actually. I had the
Okay.
problem. I was in a bad spot.
Yeah, it
The
was
last
very-
thing I want to talk with you guys about is projects and project management. Part of change, part of the evolution. Years and years ago, you guys remember we had a few people that were project managers. At the peak of our size of numbers of people, we had project managers. Frankly, none of them were that good. And the reason wasn't that they were not good. I mean, wherever they are now, I'm sure they're doing a great job. In our environment, we move quick, we pivot quick, things change a lot. Our projects require a lot of collaboration amongst us, and everything's very custom for people that we work with. They need what they need, and that requires a certain ability and a certain a way of being where you can pivot and not be upset about pivoting, and all of those things that we all know how we work. But at the point that we're at now, and really for the past year, and this is okay, the way we've evolved and how we are now and how we're going to go forward for a while, we manage projects. I have visibility into every project. Jared and I meet twice a week with Tom, and some of you meet separately. Colin, you meet separately with Jared and Tom and Stefan. So whenever you guys are working on projects, you guys have the smaller meetings, but collectively, as a organization that is project based, and we everything we do is projects that then ultimately turn into something that we have as a recurring support for the customer. The project itself has to be managed a certain way so that it's comfortable for all of us, and that we're not getting hit with surprises, and that the customer is happy and they feel good about it. So there's a few things we have to remember, but I'm saying them now because you guys are gonna hear it a lot as a huge state of mind in work every minute of the day, starting today, Monday. We have to, first of all, make sure that whoever the technical lead on the project is, and for the most part, you guys know who you are, that you are owning the project. I don't mean the management of the project, but you're owning the project as a technical lead in a way that you're really like, okay, this is mine. The customer's relying on me. The employees that work there are relying on me. My team's relying on me. There's a mindset there that you just know that there's a level of ownership beyond doing the actual technical work. So let me actually start with me. Ultimately, I am responsible for every project in the company for obvious reasons. And sort of next to me is Matt, who's not on this call right now, but Matt, who's the account manager for half of the accounts, and I'm the other. He also has a high degree of accountability and responsibility for making sure the projects go well, not technically, but just in general. And so that happens in the background. And a lot of that is the customer communications and updates and things like that. We need to reset and remind ourselves that those communications to the customer should be happening primarily through me to my accounts, Matt to his accounts. Nancy working with me can assist on project communications. We want to refrain from having the guys, those of you that are doing technical work, being the ones that are communicating to the customers, because it just doesn't serve any purpose. The customers have no concept of technically what we're talking about, and it only serves to confuse them. So we just want to remind ourselves that flow the communications. If it's one of my accounts and we're doing some work on a project, flow that up to me, Nancy, Jared, and say, hey, here's the status, here's what's going on, and then we'll communicate it to the customer. It saves you from being distracted, frankly, from getting into customer communications that sometimes become rabbit holes because they don't understand and it becomes confusing to them. And we have a way of communicating things that's just the voice that I want the customers to hear. Then there's the internal communications, which is the things that we have to just talk about on a daily basis or sometimes hourly when a project is going on. That is what helps us to be able to real time update a customer. Hey, go live is in progress. We know that. You know what? A couple things aren't going as expected. That's something that happens. Here's what they are. I'll call you back in 2 or 3 hours. That still should come from me to the customer, but internally we've got to make sure that that's happening. So I own and take responsibility for kind of resetting our project processes and workflows. And so I'm doing that with Jared. And I use the feedback that I get from Tom and from Steph and from all of you, Colin. I use the feedback that I get, but also from the customers. And that's the looking in the mirror thing. Okay, things have to change. We're really good at project management. We're better than most, but I think we've gotten lazy in some areas because we've let our guard down a little bit, and some of the things that were habits aren't habits anymore. This is a time, right? So it's the end of the year. We'll put a bookend on it, and we'll start on Monday getting back to who we naturally are, which is inside the projects. Communications is the most important thing, internally and then externally. Jared and I have a meeting set aside. I don't know if it's today. It might even be tomorrow or Saturday. He and I do this stuff sometimes when there's nobody emailing or calling us. So we're going to just tighten up some of the processes. Inside our project workflow, we're putting not just the lessons learned, which we have to start doing on a more regular basis every project. We're going to start weaving back in the communications to the customer and internally on the projects, especially when there's a go live. You guys are going to start to see that there's a go live Teams invite that's it could be every 2 hours. And for those of you that I know that have your head under the hood sometimes, and I know what that feels like, we just have to lift our head up from under the hood and jump on for 5 minutes. Yeah, we're good. That's a second. No problem? No, we're good. Okay, boom, bye. Or, you know what, ran into some problems. Here's what they are. We collaborated for a few minutes. Okay, here's the plan. We'll talk again in 2 or 3 hours. That's just the way it has to be. That gives me the opportunity, or Matt Kosha, or Nancy or Jared, or somebody to go to the customer and give them an update. And then it gives you, the engineer, the technician that's working on it, the opportunity to know that, okay, there's no weight of on my shoulder of I'm under pressure for time, because you took the pressure off yourself by communicating, and now you can go back without the pressure of feeling like you have to rush, because we set an expectation with ourselves and with the customer. It takes the pressure off of you while you're actually doing the work. It's the expectations. That data center project that we did last weekend, which was supposed to only take 1 day, and it took 2 full days. The frequent communications and update to the customer, it did take pressure off of something that went very sideways because of anything of our doing, just things we uncovered unknown unknowns. Those are the 2 things I wanted to bring to your attention that are just very, very important. Minor changes that are things that were already ongoing, that we're going to really put some weight on again for the beginning of January. Office 365 and Teams integration, and dialing it back in with our project management and process. We don't need a project manager full time. It's not necessary. We're nowhere near that. And if we just work together as a project management team, I know what I have to do. Matt knows what he has to do. You guys on doing the technical work know what you have to do. Jared knows his part. Tom certainly knows his part. On the billing side, Maxine knows her part when the time comes. We all know what we have to do. We just have to actually, as individuals, own and be disciplined about doing it and thinking about it. And that's the takeaway. If you think about it and you're aware, then you'll do it. So what you have to teach yourselves, because I can't teach you this other than by sort of hounding you, is to keep it front of mind. I'm on a project. There's certain things I need to do as a way of being. I have to be a certain way when I'm working on a project. And that just comes from repetition, and it just comes from how we operate. So nothing new, nothing earth-shattering, just but that is next level stuff. Because those things, once we get those habits back in place in the next few weeks, and the changes with Office 365, that does set the foundation for where we're going for the rest of the year. Because we're doing, as you guys know, there's a podcast coming that I hired a professional podcast producer, and what we're going to be talking a lot about with everybody that I bring on is process and workflow. And the stories that I'm going to be asking people to tell about their companies, it's always going to tie back to our processes and our workflows and our ability to pivot and to change and to lead by example. So as you guys start to watch those and see me interviewing business owners, you're going to hear them tell them stories about lessons that they've learned from mistakes they've made. But you can hear me ask every one of them about the workflows they have in place, and are they set up to go forward? And I suspect they're all going to say no. And that's part of what the reason I'm doing the podcast is to help bring attention to people. But ultimately, when people see that they can believe and trust in me and Mindcore, right, then when we go to deliver the service, we have to be able to still lead by example. So that's why the podcast, all the videos I do, I'm not doing them so that my face is recognizable. I mean, this is a face made for radio. I do it so that we can attract people to our company because I know that people need our help, and our way of thinking is very, very valuable to a lot of businesses. So you're going to see a lot of social media marketing coming up this year. It's already in progress, but it all is about how many people can we reach, how many people can actually we help with the way that we do things. And I feel bad for the people that just don't discover us, the businesses that don't learn about us, because they're suffering unnecessarily. Our mindset really is it is the absolute marriage of IT strategy and business strategy. That is exactly what we do, and it's exactly who we are, and that's why this team is going to work so well going forward without the resistance to that, because we deliver that to people, to businesses. So we have to get our own habits sharpened up again with those few things. But that's a short list. That's really it. So